Well, happy Monday, everybody. If there was one word that I would use to describe this episode of Beyond the Gates, episode 149, by the way, it would be insecurity. So, I'm going to give this one a solid 8 out of 10. Hard to believe that we are coming up on episode 150. Side note, I posted a lot of content recently, not just on this channel, but my other channel, Our Kind of Entertainment, where there was an egregious amount of YouTube shorts. Simply put, most of these videos I have been sitting on for over a month, and they are just now coming out. So there you go. A little bit of non-Beyond the Gates content, and I still have a lot of other videos for this particular channel. It's just that a lot of them are probably outdated. Like, for example, yeah, I don't think Cowboy Carter deserved Album of the Year, or Rolling Stones was wrong about The Lady in My Life being the worst track on Thriller, and several other things that were hot topics at the beginning of the year, not so much now. It's more like maybe I'll post them, maybe I won't. So there you go. But in terms of Beyond the Gates, I need to start off this review by saying, yes, I know I read the comments on my October 13th trailer and spoilers breakdown video. I messed up. I think the synopsis mentioned June. Leslie threatens June or something, or issues a warning, and I think I said Jan. Look, some of these characters have names that are very similar. Ashley's mom, is it Jan, right? Not Jen, but Jan. I thought June. And look, we only ever see Jan at the diner, aside from the one or two times we've seen her at the hospital, and I think at Uptown. Okay, so my bad, I messed up. But we start over at Dani's house, because if you remember, she turned down Andre's offer to move in, but gave him a drawer. So, kind of picking up where we left off, Dani asked Andre to consider their future, well, his future, and what he wants, and she'll accept it if he wants to end things. But he's like, well, what is this coming from? And she mentions how I can't give you kids, because what's going to happen then if, hey, what if you want kids to start a family and I can't do that? And then, ironically enough, her oldest daughter, Naomi, shows up, and Andre's like, hi, princess. So they both stare at him, and he's just trying to, hey, come up with nicknames for the stepkids. So he's like, okay, I'm about to get up out of here. So that's when Dani admits that, hey, Naomi, if you're tripping, I just gave Andre an out, knowing that it'd be a disaster to be married to someone who doesn't exactly share your wants and needs. So out of nowhere, she's like, you're glowing, aren't you? No, I'm just using good makeup. Yeah, that's everything. I just love moments like this, because is this what being a parent is like? Where you could just sense things from your kids? I mean, obviously I wouldn't know. Sure, my nephew stays here a lot, but I'm not his parent. But I guess it's an instinct. But either way, Naomi goes on about how, oh, I'm not happy that you ruined your life, Mom. It's like, you just took on kids and you ruined your career. And Dani's like, I stopped my career for your father, and I wanted to have you, Naomi. And Naomi's like, I could never be you. I could never do that. But Dani's like, you could change your mind. And then that's when Naomi's like, I'm living the dream, and I'm happy with what I have, and I don't want people thinking that I'm some sort of monster. And then Dani's like, well, being child free does not make you a monster. And Jacob is brought into the equation, because Naomi feels like eventually, he's going to succeed by constantly trying to wear her down into wanting kids. But Dani's like, well, I know you said you never wanted them. So this was an interesting conversation, because I feel like Naomi is going to do something very rash. Now, I have seen plenty of people going back and forth online, some in support of Jacob, some in support of Naomi, others who are like, I see both sides. But I don't think Jacob was being anything but honest in that he was happy, because I think I mentioned this in a previous video, not a review, but just a video in general about this subject. People can and will change. Like, the person you married 3 years ago will most likely not be the same person that they were when you got married 3 years down the line. Wants, needs, desires, they all change. And in terms of, man, I mean, I'm 34, and when you get online, when I get online and I just scroll, it's just not uncommon to see, well, the marriage rate has declined, not necessarily not just focusing on like divorces, but I mean, less millennials are getting married nowadays, or less millennials are having, kids. But it's one of those things where I don't feel like I'm a statistic, in terms of being a 34-year-old heterosexual black male in America. It's the norm. Like, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary if someone like me had like 3 different kids by 2 baby mamas or something like that. I was unemployed. I mean, I'm self-employed, but unemployed, living off of welfare, that kind of stuff, or whatever the case may be. But I just feel like with everything going on, and I don't just mean in the realm of politics and disease and everything, but more so just strictly the economy, I don't know. And for me, and I'm not just trying to make this a personal thing. Like, look, if you're on my main channel, by now that, yeah, I'm not really looking to have kids or anything, or, do the bedroom tango until I get married. I'm old fashioned. That's how I want it. And I just feel like it would just be so much more difficult to be raising a kid solo or with joint custody and all, as opposed to a 2-parent household, And I think that while Naomi says she's living a dream and having it all, I just feel like she is living in an illusion where she is gassing herself up thinking that she's living the dream, but in actuality, she is walking on eggshells, trying everything in her power to not become her parents. No, Mom, I'm not going to give up my career in order to raise a family. No, Dad, I'm not going to follow in your legal footsteps and bend the law to my will and go against, justice. I'm going to fight it my own way. So I feel like in doing everything she can to avoid becoming her parents, Naomi is denying herself the life that she probably low-key wants but is afraid to have, because she's so worried that she's going to be corrupt like her father as a lawyer, that she's going to give everything up for a man who's going to leave her like her mom. And to be completely honest, while I'm not a fan of her intrusive nature, this kind of makes Naomi a much more compelling character. That is just my opinion. All right. So let's go over to the hospital where Ashley shows up with Derek, and they have a lunch date, and they talk and they joke about how they're too cutesy, which is kind of cringe, knowing that this is based on just false circumstances, from Ashley's guilt to Derek lying about his feeling in the leg. I don't know. But yeah, they mention wedding plans, and Shanice pops up, happy to hear them talking about it. And Ashley actually invites her to be a bridesmaid, and she agrees to be one, which I think would be kind of hilarious, because imagine if she's standing there, and as Ashley gets up the aisle or walks down the aisle, that's when Derek gets up, and I could like low key imagine the epic eye roll Shanice will do. Oh man, because imagine if he gets up, she's amazed, but then as the person officiating the wedding is going through, the lines and whatnot, that's when doubts start to come in. If anyone objects, I object. And I'm like, oh no. Do you think Andre will get invited to the wedding? I feel like Andre will get invited to the wedding. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to be a Dwayne and Whitley moment from a different world, but I just feel like it would totally happen. Okay, so they mention how they'll be married in a few months, and then later we have Alex come by, and thanks for the flashbacks, because I'm like, wait a minute, this woman looks familiar, but I can't place the face. And yeah, it was the woman who had her baby on the elevator way back in the opening episodes. Wow, what a journey, folks. So they hug each other, and Ashley greets Andrea, who is hitting all of her milestones in development. So it is cute. So it looks like she shows up to the hospital for checkups and everything. And Andre actually comes in, and he's shocked to see the baby, and he hugs Alex too. And she's like, wow, isn't this isn't an accident. We're all here together at the same time. And it's like, if you only knew everything that has occurred between these two since the elevator. My goodness. So Alex mentions that her kid is dressing up as a nurse-tographer for upcoming party. And I'm thinking that's so adorable. And it's like, oh man. And I'm looking at the screen like that baby kind of represents the baby that Ashley and Andre could have. I don't know. I really love it. So Shanice is actually in the gym area of the hospital working out with Derek, and she's still giving him grief about him not telling Ashley the feeling in his legs being a thing. But then that's when Derek kind of changed the subject. It's like, why is Andre always at the hospital? And that's when Shanice notices that he moved his leg, and he tries it again, and it moves some more. So she wants to call the doctor, and yet again urges him to tell Ashley that he's recovering. So that's when he heads over to the hub and overhears Alex inviting, her heroes to the party. That's when Derek wheels over and tells Ashley, hey, we're getting married. And it's like, oh, well, that's great. You can come too. And then Derek invites Dani on Andre's behalf. And I'm like, what an a-hole. Wow. So we go over to the diner, and Leslie is doing loudly on her cup to get June's attention for a coffee refill, and she's apologetic for the wait, but her shift just began. So that's when Leslie admits that she used to wait tables and is the daughter of musical royalty. So she talks to her about the articulates, and now she has a lot more money. Because that's exactly who, she would... That's exactly Leslie's way of doing things. So Ted actually shows up, and June goes over to read the specials, and they share a moment which Leslie notices from across the room. June flirts, and Ted calls her the kindest listener, and you know what, consider me a regular, for you, of course. And June's happy to hear it. So, and he's like, yeah, I apologize for, going on and on about my life the last time I was here. But June was just happy to lend a listening ear. So they talk a bit about his upcoming divorce, and June thinks that this will be his way to get a new lease on life. And he excused himself to go see his granddaughter. I'm literally trying to think. At this point in the series, have we ever seen Ted, Maurice or Keith, Ted as a character, have we ever seen Ted interact with Terrell and or Samantha? I cannot think of a moment. It's just like when Nicole comes over sometimes, or is at the country club and we see her with the grandkids. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They're grandkids. I don't think we've ever seen that. So after Ted leaves, that's when Leslie steps over to June and warns her to back off her man. And June's like, wait, what? And Leslie's like, yeah, things don't go well for people who butt in. And that's when June is like, look, I done seen some SHIT. You don't intimidate me. I buy that. And I know she's taller and everything, but I would put my money on June. Is like, this woman was an addict. She lived under the underpass or whatever. She's seen some things. She got into some stuff. So Leslie's threats, nah. But then again, I'm like, Leslie runs people off the road, and I'm just wondering. I don't know if this is something that actually happened, but do you think June could have been near the area that the Laura's incident took place in? You know, when she got ran off the road? I don't know exactly if that was near or the underpass per se, but you never know. Just saying. Plus, we haven't seen Laura in a while. Now, we go over to Chelsea and Samantha, who, gives Samantha props for everything she's been doing for the brand. And the handbags are being bought by mothers and daughters, and they ran out. I wonder if they'll announce in real life, because remember the Chelsea Cat bags are a real thing, and I think they're like $130 something. Yes, I looked it up just to look it up to see. I wonder if the price in universe of the show matches the price of in real life. But yeah, the bags have run out. So that's when they talk about June, and Samantha admits that it's been the best finding out about her. So that's when Ted comes over, and yeah, I forgot they were actually at the diner. Ted comes over and wants to know how everything's going with the business. So that's when the conversation shifts to Smitty and Martin's issues and her getting to know her mom. So Ted's confused because he learns that June is the mother, and he's like, wait, what? So as he's leaving for work, that's when Leslie rubs up against him and complains about him seeing that sea urchin. That sea urchin. Like, really? You want to talk about a hair like that? So that's when that's when Samantha introduces June to Chelsea, who calls her pretty, and she's happy that they found each other. So I think that's cool, because I wonder how Smitty would react to Samantha being at the diner there with her mom. Personally, I do not care. But yeah, I just thinking about it. So June's still trying to get used to the family tree, because obviously there's a lot going on here. Now, also, yeah, Chelsea, it's good to see her all smiles, and, because after everything she's been through, man. Side note, I know people talk about this all the time, but they know how to dress these characters. They know how to dress them. All right, so we go over to the country club, and we get a bit of a Vanessa and Nicole kind of feisty scene here. So Vanessa tells Nicole about her guilt regarding Doug, and that Donnell wants to stay home from school so he can be the man of the house. And she asked if Nicole could, talk to her son in order to get him to go back to school. And, well, I don't want to judge, but then it's kind of like the person who's like, well, I don't like talking about somebody, but then they're going to end up talking about somebody. So essentially Nicole's like, I don't want to judge, but then I am. Telling her that she's probably nervous that Joey will see them, Donnell will see his mom and Joey being all cozy and whatnot. And then that's when Vanessa reminds Nicole that Joey's my friend and business partner. And then the retort is, yeah, like the many friends you've had over the years, huh? But that's when Vanessa's like, well, he's different, Nicole. He's dangerous, Vanessa. And I don't want you to regret this. So that's when Vanessa mentions how she told her son about Joey, and I just want my bestie to approve. I don't want to be treated like some sort of patient. And I've mentioned that in a couple of videos where it must be interesting being the child of a psychiatrist, where anytime you come to your mom for a problem, you want to come to your mom, not Dr. Richardson. So that's when Vanessa texts Joey to meet, and then she just bounces. So after that, we go over to the casino, and Donnell is, this is after hours, the after hours room. Donnell thanks Joey for his support and everything, but he'll be handling things from now on. Basically, hey, thanks for being there for my mom, but I got this. And Joey gets some drinks, and I'm like, really, man? You going to get your dude's dad died? Never mind. So Joey mentions how he and Donnell are a lot alike, and the thing is, I had to escape my cage, though, unlike, your dad, who was a shining example. Dude, really? So Joey feels like if I had an education like your father's, who knows where I could have ended up. But I agree, though. It's a son's duty to look after his mother, and I know your father will be proud, and I'm proud of you. So how exactly do you plan on paying the bills? And that's when Donnell thinks, I'll figure out something. But Joey's like, well, I don't think you really have the cash since you don't have a trade or a degree just yet. And I think I have an answer. I mean, you want to become a dealer here? And he's like, nah, I'm good. So he's like, this place is a hub for all the things that could ruin someone's life, like women, booze, gambling. Whew. If you only knew, Donnell. So that's when he's like, I'm sure of your intentions with my mom. And he's like, back off. So then he leaves. So it's like, I feel like Joey respects this kid. I honestly feel like he does. I mean, not out of any sort of like sympathy or whatnot for Doug, but I feel like the guy, he respects that the kid has guts. All right, so over at the country club, Leslie, you know what's funny? Leslie has run into both of Ted's, I guess you could say, interest, if you will, his wife, soon to be ex-wife, and the woman that he's kind of risen up at the diner. So, she gloats to Nicole's face about the house and lies, claiming that she's living with Teddy Bear now, which Nicole doesn't believe. And it's like, oh, wow, you're spreading your lies as easily as you're spreading your... And then that's when Leslie's like, don't get too crude now. It's only a matter of time before they're in the streets again. So I guess that's a reference to, like, you know, in the sheets again. I'm sorry, in the sheet. I cannot read my own writing. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, Nicole's about to choke it, you know, again. But that would be funny. So that's when Nicole is like, yeah, right. So they argue about who Tomas belongs to in regards to their daughters, and that's when Leslie promises trouble if she doesn't leash her little cat. I mean, Eva's the one that you know what? I'm not even going to go there. So that's when Nicole is like, whatever you throw at me is going to come back sharpened. Can't wait to see that. Now, speaking of sharp, Vanessa pops up at the casino, and Joey, you know, it's interesting because Vanessa comes in, Joey's counting money, and she's like, you know what? I almost ended a good friendship over us. And that's when he's like, you know what? Go back and patch up that friendship. Wait, what? This thing between us, it has to end. And that took, you know, her by surprise. So we end with the, well, actually, I'm ending it with the final scene to talk about. Ted pops up at the hospital, and Andre tells Ted about Alex's baby and how, you know, the baby is a reminder of what he and Ashley have, which is an unexplored connection. Bro, you are married and she is engaged. Let it go. Even though I don't want you to, but let it go. Let it go. All right, folks. So that is Monday's episode of Beyond the Gates. Please check out the various other content I post on the channel, and I will catch you all on the next one. And yeah, this week I'll try to make sure my reviews are up on time.